relationship issues?
Relationship Talk
On 702.
On our relationship feature this morning, we are discussing how menopause and andropause affect relationships. I think there are very few couples who prepare for what can really be one of the biggest transitions in a relationship or in a marriage, and that's menopause and andropause. And I think we spend a lot of time talking about women experiencing menopause, but men also experience age-related declines in testosterone, and that's what's referred to as andropause. So think of it as male menopause. And these midlife changes bring profound physical and emotional changes which can create friction in our relationships, in our marriages. They can affect everything from mood and sleep to confidence, identity, intimacy, communications, you name it. And when both partners are going through those hormonal changes at the same time, that's why there's a phenomenon called couplepause, right? You've got misunderstandings that can easily arise. One partner may feel rejected while the other one feels overwhelmed, but the roles within the relationship may also shift. Even couples in loving, stable relationships can suddenly feel disconnected. So whether you're in a heterosexual relationship, a same-sex relationship, newly dating, or maybe you guys have been together for decades, how has couplepause affected your relationship? And maybe you didn't experience andropause or menopause at the same time. How has it affected you? Have you or your partner experienced, or maybe you are experiencing menopause or andropause as we speak? I would like to know how that has affected your relationship. Give us a call on 011-883-0702. You can share your experiences on WhatsApp as well on 072-702-1702. Paula Quincy is a relationship and life coach who will be guiding us through this conversation. Paula, great to chat to you again. Good morning.
Hey, Clement. Good to be back with you again.
So we often hear about and talk about menopause, but couplepause is a bit of a newer term now. What exactly does it mean, and how often do we have couples experiencing menopause and or andropause right at the same time?
So you're quite correct. It is something that hasn't really been spoken about in the past. The spotlight has always really been put on women going through menopause. And it's only recently being started to be spoken about in the corporate world under mental health and well-being. But absolutely very little has been spoken about when it comes to menopause for men or andropause. And it usually affects couples in their 40s and 50s because women start going through menopause earlier than what men do.
Okay, so how does then menopause and andropause affect, or before we even get to the effect, how do men experience it? Because we speak a lot about menopause, and we know about the mood that often changes, how it can affect intimacy. But what about men? Like, when do we expect it to occur for men, and what are often the symptoms? Are they the same in some ways?
So there are similar symptoms between men and women, but the main difference is the drop in testosterone and estrogen. So I'm not a medical professional, so I would recommend that you go and seek professional help if you are going through these. But for men, the typical one, and pretty much from the age of 30s onwards, men start showing declines or gradual declines in terms of testosterone. But the similar symptoms between the two is around mood disorders, or sorry, not disorders, but experiencing mood changes or mood swings, low energy levels, depression, and decreased libido. So those are common for women, and then for men in particular, it would be around erectile dysfunction.
Oh, got you. So how do these then affect relationships and marriages? How does menopause and andropause affect people emotionally and ultimately that relationship or marriage?
So often couples don't realize that they are going through these hormonal changes, so they don't really know how to make sense of it. And it's not something that, as couples, that we actually, sit down and talk about it. We try and kind of deal with it on ourselves and, I'm not sleeping well, or I'm tired, or I just don't have energy. And we put it down to other things in our lives, whether it's children, caregiving, work-related stress. We don't stop down to really think and go, might I be going through hormonal changes, and who do I go and speak to get it checked out from a medical perspective?
So then what do we need to do then as married couples, as people in relationships, partners? Why should couples be thinking about menopause or andropause as something experienced by the relationship rather than just the individual? Because isn't that what sometimes happens, is you start looking at it as that's the individual that is actually affected by andropause or menopause, as opposed to this is what the relationship is experiencing?
Absolutely. And this is, where couples should sit down and talk about it and go and share what they're going through and what they're experiencing, so that you can be empathetic and supportive of each other, because it is going to affect your relationship regardless. Because the irritability and the mood swings can cause conflict and friction in your relationship and can affect your communication. The decrease in libido on both sides can cause self-confidence issues, body image issues, and a sexual desire, and it can affect the physical side of your relationship as well.
But do relationships always change, during menopause or andropause, or can couples go back to how they were?
I think your relationship changes regardless, because the longer you've been together and you are in a relationship, your relationship needs evolve and grow as you evolve and grow as individuals. And then on top of it, now you've got the added complexity of going through menopause or andropause together. So your relationship is naturally going to shift and change. And it's how do you as couples support each other through those shifts and changes as your needs change and as your relationship needs change, that you can be there for each other and support each other through it.
So one of the biggest relationship challenges seems to be that the changes are often invisible. So you've got a partner who can't necessarily see brain fog or anxiety or maybe exhaustion or low testosterone. So how does that invisibility create conflict?
So when you're going through those changes and you're not aware what the changes are, what we tend to do is we act out our emotions, or we act out what we're experiencing. So we can be snappy towards each other, we can be irritable towards each other, or we can also shut down and withdraw from each other. So we lose that connection in our relationships. And so because they are invisible, when you start sort of recognizing the signs for yourself and then speak out about it, you can speak out to each other and support each other through it, but at the same time support each other in going and getting professional help to help you work through these and get the right treatment for it as well.
Absolutely. In fact, I want to hear from some of our listeners and what their experiences have been. So give us a call on 011-883-0702. Send a WhatsApp as well. On 072-702-1702. How has menopause affected your relationship? How has andropause affected your relationship? I think we experience this thing, but seldom do we take some time to reflect on what the impact actually is on our relationship. So I want to know what impact you have seen. And maybe you are someone who's not experiencing menopause or andropause, but you've seen some of the symptoms in your partner. In fact, when we spoke about andropause at some point on the show, there are a number of men who didn't even know that there's something called andropause. So as a man, as you are growing and you're aging, you start experiencing these mood swings, low testosterone, your libido gets affected. What we think, that's just the nature of aging, when in fact, yes, it is the nature of aging, but you could be experiencing symptoms of andropause. So, and if you don't know what you are dealing with, you don't know how to solve for it. So I'd like to hear from you if this is something you have experienced. Have you been affected, your relationship affected by menopause or andropause? Give me a call or send me a WhatsApp voice note. It's 17 minutes now after 11 o'clock.
John Perlman. Weekday afternoons,
3 to 6.
In terms of their contribution to food security in our country, if that's a sector taking strain, where's the impact felt on food security, either in terms of output or price?
Firstly, we need to recognize and say they do contribute to food security. We have this fallacy in our minds to say that food security is a big commercial farmer doing 10,000 hectares and he supplies the market and we food and we're okay. It's not. The people being in the rural areas, their contribution to food security is humongous.
John Pullman.
3 to 6 on 702.
South Africa's infrastructure future starts with action. Join the Council for the Built Environment at the second Public Works and Infrastructure Summit themed From Collapse to Confidence, bringing together leaders from government, industry and academia. The summit will focus on safer buildings, stronger infrastructure, improved asset management, and practical solutions to drive delivery. Don't miss this important conversation shaping South Africa's built environment. Visit www.cbe.org.za for more information. The Council for the Built Environment, building confidence through collaboration.
Mzansi, the excitement is building. The 130th running of the Hollywood Bets Durban July takes place on Saturday, 4 July. This year's theme, Country Allure, draws from the richness of our land. A celebration of heritage, freedom and style, inspired by our beautiful countryside. It's more than a race. It's where champions are made, stories are written, and greatness is unleashed. World-class horse racing, bold fashion, music, culture, and a day of endless excitement at Hollywood Bets Greyville Racecourse. Get your tickets now at Ticket Pro and release your glamour at the Hollywood Bets Durban July, Africa's greatest horse racing and social event.
The pain of losing a loved one is never easy. It will leave you feeling overwhelmed. At Clientele, we understand that burying loved ones with dignity truly matters. Our funeral plans pay out cash within just 24 hours, and you receive 200 Rand airtime when you claim to make those important calls. Plus, we cover up to 13 people on one plan. SMS funeral to 31586. That's 31586. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Nedbank Business Ignite on 702 is closing entries soon. This year, we're celebrating entrepreneurs who've turned personal challenges into businesses that make a real difference. Catch 702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa every morning to meet the finalists and hear their inspiring stories. You can go to igniteyourbusiness.co.za or primemediaplus.com to enter. You could win 200,000 Rand and the recognition your business deserves. T's and C's apply. See money differently. Nedbank, an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
Relationship issues
Relationship Talk.
on 702.
It's 20 minutes after 11 o'clock, and on our relationship feature this morning, we've been talking about menopause and andropause. How does it affect relationships? I think we take for granted the consequences of the symptoms on our relationships, on our marriages. So have you experienced andropause, or maybe you've picked up some symptoms that you now understand could have been andropause? How has that affected your relationship? Or maybe you have been experiencing menopause. What have you picked up as some of the things that you have been affected by in your relationship as a result of that? 011-883-0702 is the number to dial. Share your experiences as well, or questions on how to deal with the impact of andropause or menopause in your relationship or marriage. You can send those on WhatsApp as well on 072-7021-702. Paula Quincy is a relationship and life coach guiding us through this conversation. And Paula, we were speaking earlier about partners who don't necessarily see these symptoms, because the challenge here seems to be that the changes that you experience when you are undergoing menopause, you are in your andropause phase, is that they're invisible. So your partners can't necessarily see that brain fog that some women often complain about as a symptom, or anxiety, or exhaustion, low testosterone. And partners will often assume that their partners have changed rather than thinking that they're going through something. From your experience as a relationship coach, do we personalize these hormonal changes often, or are we mature enough from your observation to actually look at it as, this is a challenge that we are facing as a relationship, as opposed to take it personal? Because of course, when you're experiencing perhaps irritability, easily irritable in a relationship or in a marriage, it's easy for the next person to personalize it and think, you treating them like this and that, and they react differently. Whereas the opposite side would be, oh, I know that my partner is going through andropause or menopause, they've reached that phase, so them being irritable could mean that they're just experiencing a symptom of this condition. So that then informs how you respond.
Correct, Clement. So traditionally, it's been seen as a woman's issue, a woman's health issue, or a woman's problem, and that they need to deal with it and, seek help from a medical professional in terms of hormone therapy treatment, and confide in their women friends because they would understand what they're going through. So this can leave women feeling lonely, isolated, unsupportive, and potentially that, there's something wrong with them. That, they don't feel good about themselves. There's a loss of confidence as their body changes. They're not sleeping well, which contributes to the irritability and the brain fog. The energy levels dip in the afternoons, which is where the brain fog kind of seems to, creep in. And just all round and just not feeling like themselves and who they are. So when they can't talk to their partner about this, it does affect their sense of intimacy. And when I say intimacy, closeness and feeling close and supported by their partner. But it also does affect the physical side of the relationship. And up until now, very little has been spoken about andropause for men, let alone couples, in terms of couplepause and going through this journey together. So, this is where we are seeing men step into that role or into that space and being more supportive in wanting to understand what their partners are going through, wanting to know how they can support them in this. And then I think they are more surprised when they can, hear that, but you can be going through andropause as well, or manpause. Because it hasn't been spoken about. And, this is where women can also step in and be supportive for the men as they go through their own changes, as opposed to just potentially fobbing it off towards stress from a work perspective, childcare or caring for elderly parents, and the financial stress and everything that comes with that life stage that older couples or more mature couples are going through.
Yeah. There's some WhatsApp voice notes that are coming through on 072 702 1702. Let's take a listen.
Hi, Clement, and 702. I think I'm actually one of the couples that are affected now by this couple pause. My wife is experiencing the menopause, and in our relationship now, in the bed, we don't do anything. And I'm that kind of a person. It's very important for me to do my deed, So I've heard that from your guest there is mentioning that we need to get help, both of us, in order to support each other. What kind of help in this regard? Because as a matter of fact, this now has made me go out there and find another partner just to see myself if I'm still strong. And my performance has been approved, like 99% that I'm great out there. But it just hurt me knowing that I'm trying to do this out there, because other than that, in the house, there's no peace. The atmosphere has completely changed because I feel like I'm not loved. I feel like I'm not attractive enough. So I would like to get help from your guest as to what kind of help is this needed in order for us to continue to do this, intimacy with my wife. Thank you. Bye for now.
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. Paula, let's deal with that first. What kind of help then do you recommend or advise for a couple that's experiencing couple pause? I mean, he says, now I have to go out to have sex because I'm not having it in the relationship, because it seems there's andropause, there's menopause, and somehow that's affecting the dynamics, including their libido. And he says he doesn't like going out there. So how do you advise them to deal with this?
Yeah, so firstly, I want to acknowledge this caller for having the courage to speak up and, what's going on, and now being willing to reflect and look at things. So when it comes to women, obviously loss of estrogen and the hormonal changes in their body, what we don't often speak about is that sex can be very painful because of vaginal dryness. And so nobody wants to have painful sex. So women will tend to avoid that. And then second of all, just the change in their bodies, the body shape. They have body image issues, self-confidence issues. They don't feel attractive to themselves, let alone attractive to their partner. And so they can tend to avoid sex or shut down from being intimate with their partners as a result of what they're going through. And then on top of that, just the low energy and the mood swings and the fatigue, it's just a lot to deal with. So from a male perspective, it's understanding that this is nothing personal against you as a man or a partner. It is something that a woman doesn't actually have control over. It is a natural part of life that happens to us as we age. But what you do have control over is how you both deal with this together. So first of all, encourage your partner to go and seek help in terms of what she's experiencing and the right kind of treatment that can help her in her journey and come back to finding a new version of herself, because the old version of herself is gone. So she has to find a new version of herself to learn to love herself again. And the same with the man, and as supporting her to love her in her new version of who she is as she's going through this life journey, and vice versa, how she can love you and support you as a man because you're going through your own potential hormonal change. It may not be at the same time, depending on your ages that you are in your relationship, but you will both be going through some form of hormonal aging change in your relationship.
And sometimes, you've got, arguments that escalate very quickly during this time where there's andropause or menopause experience. So what's your advice for couples? Like, how should they approach conflict when they are aware of what is happening, and how can they approach conflict and repair during this season?
So I definitely think, as hard as it may be, try not take it personally, because it's in that moment we're dealing with all of these things. Often we don't know what we're dealing with. We're just responding and reacting. We're trying to survive day to day while we go through this journey. So that's where talking about these things and saying, this is where I'm at, this is what I'm going through, this is what I'm experiencing. I don't know who I am at this point in time. I'm just surviving. And how can you even go together and go and get medical insights and medical help and medical advice so you know how to support each other through the journey. Conflict is going to happen. So when it does happen, if you need to put a pause on the conversation and say, let's just take some time out so we can kind of just recover and self-regulate ourselves, and then we can come back and talk through this calmly. Let each other know when you are being triggered, when you are feeling irritable, when you are feeling snappy, so that the other person knows how to be there for you. And creating a safe space is most important, to be able to speak up, because that shows empathy, it shows compassion, it shows understanding.
Yeah.
Relationship issues
Relationship talk.
on 702.
24 minutes before 12 o'clock on our relationship feature this morning, we're talking about something we seldom talk about, regardless of how it really affects our marriages, how it affects our relationships. We're talking about how menopause and andropause affect relationships. And I want to know what you've experienced in your relationship as an impact of menopause or andropause. Or maybe it's couplepause. This is now a phenomena. It's a term that's actually been coined when both partners are going through the hormonal changes at the same time. That's a phenomena called couplepause. You're right, there are misunderstandings that can easily arise. One partner may feel rejected while the other one feels overwhelmed. So the roles within that relationship then begin to shift. Even the couples who love each other, even people who are in stable relationships, they can suddenly feel disconnected. So whether you're in a heterosexual relationship and you're experiencing andropause and menopause, or maybe it's a same-sex relationship, both of you are experiencing menopause, or both of you are experiencing andropause, or maybe it's a newly dating, or you've been together for decades. How has this affected your relationship? Let's start with your WhatsApps that have come through on 0727021702.
Good morning, Clement. Thanks for the great show, as always. Today I'm not going to say my name. Yeah, I wasn't aware about this andropause, and I think it affected my relationship because now it's been 2 weeks since me and my partner are no longer together. Actually, we're just separated. I experienced mood swings, and also from her, and we at some point I would think she resents me. Sometimes I would look at her and get like angry, and I think what the lady just explained, it's most of the symptoms that I've noticed, like erectile dysfunction. Sometimes I would just come quick when I'm doing it with her. I can't wait to finish. So yeah, I hope there's a way to deal with this. Thank you very much.
Hi, Clement, and your guest. Your topic for today really touches me. I mean, I've been married for about 20 years now, and I experienced this andropause first, and I couldn't get it up, even if I wanted to. But I worked on it. I changed my diet. I joined the gym, and I worked on it. And then now that I'm okay, I feel like I reversed it, because I can get it up. I masturbate. I want sex almost every day. But now it's her turn. She doesn't want anything. I mean, it's so bad that a month can go by, 2 months can go by, and I can't keep masturbating, sometimes 2 times a night. And I can't keep doing this. I'm even thinking of going out. I mean, what can she do? I mean, if she really wants to do something about it, what can she do? Because it is bad. It is bad, and it's affecting our relationship. Thank you.
Hi, Clement. It's Mike here from Ivory Park. I'm a 50-year-old man, and my wife is 44. So we both, I think, experiencing the same menopause and what's the other word for men? Andropause, I think. Because lately, I've noticed that my erection is not so good like it used to be maybe 5 years ago. And we both accepted that. I think we don't mind. Sometimes we go a week without anything in the bedroom. So I don't mind. And my wife, I think she doesn't mind as well, because she never initiates anything unless I do. So I think she's okay in that department. And one more thing I've noticed about myself is I get irritated very easily, especially when I'm talking to her, not with other people, but only with her. So I don't know. Well, it doesn't get physically, thanks, but just sometimes a few minutes later, and then I regret, and then I apologize. So it's I don't know if feels like it's uncontrollable. So sometimes for smaller thing, and then you get irritated, and then you come to your senses later and then apologize. So, yeah, thanks, Clement.
No. Sure, yeah. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences. I think it's so helpful, because there are people who are listening here who are experiencing the same thing, and they've just been wondering, what is going on? Why am I experiencing this? And they don't know or didn't know that this is something that exists as a condition, not just for women, but men as well who experience andropause. Yeah. Paula, any reflections of what you've heard from our listeners so far? This thing keeps on coming up every time we have these conversations, Paula, where men call in and they start also raising concerns about how they are always the ones that are initiating. And seldom it's the women who do so. And that's why they end up thinking, is it because I am not attractive enough? What is going on? And 2 men already so far have said to us, at some point I even considered going out. One of them has already gone out. Any advice for couples who are experiencing something like this?
Yes, definitely. So, again, it comes back to sitting down and talking about how you're feeling and what's going on with you. But I want to encourage people or couples to remain curious and open to sharing where they are both at. And while the relationship and individuals are going through changes, it is also a beautiful opportunity to get to be curious and share this journey together by embracing it and putting changes in place. So whether, the one caller spoke about it, I've changed the way, my lifestyle. I now exercise. I've changed my diet and how I eat, and I've got more energy and those kind of things. And this is a beautiful opportunity if couples embrace this journey together and support each other and start doing things together where they start feeling good about themselves individually, but also collectively as a couple. And to also encourage, just take the pressure off in terms of that sex has to be through intercourse only. Explore and be curious about how you can please each other in other ways. It may be just for a period of time, a moment, and not necessarily forever, but get curious about exploring new ways of finding that attraction and that connection with each other again, that it doesn't necessarily have to be about penetration only.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got some text messages that have come through. Mbali says, "Hi Clement, thank you for this topic. The medical field has done a huge disservice to men for all this time by not talking about andropause. You find menopause posters at medical facilities, but no andropause posters. It is high time both menopause and andropause posters are all the time next to each other at medical facilities. Thank you." That's a message from Mbali. Mbali couldn't have said it better. Absolutely agree with you. Another one says, "Hi Clement, great topic today. It makes sense now why you find that a couple who is in their 50s and more, they divorce because of all of these changes. And instead of them talking about it, they will rather separate, or the guy would rather go out and cheat. We really need more education about this so that we will know how to handle it." That's a message there from Busi. And that's precisely why we're having this conversation. And maybe you want your partner to also hear what this conversation is about. Just send them a podcast right after we're done here. The podcast will be available. Send them a podcast. Let them listen so that they know what to anticipate, but so that they can better know themselves and better know you as their partner about some of the symptoms of menopause or andropause. I want to ask now Paula about just how much of the relationship conflict during this phase is actually about hormones versus just deeper relationship issues that were already there. But I guess, as you said, it's all about having a conversation. When you have a conversation, then you'll realize that, okay, there are deeper issues here. But in some instances, like the listener who sent us a WhatsApp voice note, he gets irritated sometimes with his partner and he realizes it and he comes back to sort of apologize. And I know many women describe grieving the end of their reproductive years or struggling with changes to their bodies. But likewise, some men struggle with reduced libido, as we've explained, erectile dysfunction, changing physical strength, etc. But I want to know why these changes sometimes can be difficult to talk about, because it's not easy to sit down and just talk about these changes that happen. Sometimes they make you feel insecure. So what are some of the ways to sort of broach this uncomfortable conversation?
So, Clement, I think, historically, because we haven't spoken about these things as openly as we do in today's world, and there is more information out there that we can educate ourselves on it as opposed to in the past. And previously it was seen as a woman's problem, a woman's life change, and not necessarily that men go through this too. So yes, without, there could be other contributing factors. So if your relationship was already in a rocky place and now you start going through changes that can add additional layers of complexity and conflict. So, the quickly getting, resentful and irritable and lashing out at my partner, and not realizing or understanding why I'm doing it and what is the cause, the root of that frustration that I'm just snapping at my partner. So when we're able to take a step back and reflect, and we can go, okay, I'm irritable because I realize now I haven't been sleeping well. And I'm irritable because I'm feeling rejected because I've tried to initiate sex with my partner the last 3 times and every time I've been blocked. So I'm feeling like I am not wanted anymore and I'm not desired anymore. So we start questioning our own self-worth and our own self-being and the value that I'm bringing to this relationship, or the value that my partner has in this relationship. We feel isolated and alone. So all of these things contribute, and it's very difficult to pinpoint it to one specific thing as we're going through these changes, because women start the life change way earlier than what men do. Women go through perimenopause first before they go through menopause, and that can start in your early to late 30s. You can be going through menopause for up to 7 to 10 years before you start going through actual menopause itself. And women on average between age 52 to 54 would have gone through menopause itself. And so, there's other things that contribute on a hormonal level, like, when women are having their periods, it's often put down, oh, well, it's that time of the month, so we're quick to deflect. Whereas when we start getting curious and sitting down and talking about it, we realize there's a lot more to this. And as couples, we can be a lot more supportive and empathetic and compassionate and open to being there for each other.
Yeah, that's true. I've got another message here from Karabo in Soweto, who says, Clement, morning to you. Great show, and thank you for fixing the country. Are we fixing the country, Karabo? Thank you. And then Karabo says, a lot of men have blamed failed relationships on the fact that their partners are moody. Meanwhile, it could be them who are the reason. That's a message from Karabo. Yes, and I suppose the point we're making here, and the reason we're having this conversation, is that there are too many things that happen in relationships, and it's very easy for us to just blame it on, menopause, or that irritability, or that low testosterone has now affected us. And very seldom do we as men pause and think about how we are experiencing andropause and how that is affecting the relationship. So to your point, Karabo, the blame has always been on women. And I like the message we got earlier on from, was it Mbali, who said, we need to see posters about andropause. I've never come across a poster about andropause. I've never even come across a conversation about andropause. The only conversations we've seen, menopause. The only posters that we see, menopause. So the conversation really needs to shift so that we also as men are aware for ourselves, not necessarily just for relationships, for our own selves, so that we know how to deal with issues. And in relationships where both partners are going through menopause together, or both partners are experiencing a declining testosterone at the same time, can that be an opportunity, Paula, to bond over the experience? Because ultimately then that would strengthen that relationship. So if we've got a couple maybe, or someone who's listening to us who says, actually me and my partner are experiencing couplepause, how can we take advantage of that, bond over it, and maybe that could strengthen that relationship?
Most definitely. And, this is where, if couples can create that safe space where they can sit down and really share what's going on for them individually, and to understand, well, collectively, we're both going through something here. What's the first step of action that we can take? And that would be, going and getting some form of medical insight into where you're at in your journey and the kind of treatment that you would individually need based on, your needs and that. And being able to find new ways of connecting with each other that feels, that it's building that intimacy again, that, your sexual life is going to take on a different phase now. And, it's not just about sex, it's about feeling close, feeling supported, feeling seen, feeling visible, still feeling desired. So, from a male point of view, Help your partner by telling her what you still find attractive about her, despite her body going through those changes, and vice versa for a woman, because men's bodies go through changes as well. The most obvious ones is we put on weight, particularly around the belly for both men and women, and breast changes. So men can start developing man boobs. And dealing with things like erectile dysfunction, and how do you find other ways of pleasing each other if those are some of the issues that you're dealing with. And then, through educating, more education out there. You mentioned posters on walls, but from a corporate point of view and corporate employee wellness initiatives, to start having conversations around this in the workplace and support for people in the workplace that, they can get that support. It's only recently now that some medical aids are having menopause programs where women can get some of their treatment covered through medical aid, and it should be the same for men too, because it contributes to mental and emotional health issues, and there's still a stigma attached around that. So the more we talk about it, the more we remove the stigma, we create safe spaces for people, both men and women, to speak up about what they're going through, how to deal with it, and how to get the right treatment.
Absolutely. Let's go to some WhatsApps. 0727021702.
Morning, Clement. Thanks for a great show. Menopause, yeah. All I can say is I've been through it with my wife, and just be gentle and kind and loving and understanding, because these poor ladies, they've got to go and give birth to our kids, look after them, look after the family, and then just when you think things are settling down, they get menopause thrown at them. So just a little bit of understanding and love and nurturing, and know that when they are being monsters, they're not meaning to be monsters. It's just the hormones playing up. Anyway, have a good day, everyone. Cheers, bye.
Oh, yeah. That's so important, eh? And I think that's one of the biggest areas of tension, Paula, and that's often intimacy. So couples need to be able to separate the I don't want sex today versus I don't want you. And I think sometimes when there are these hormonal changes and libido gets affected, intimacy dynamics change, then one partner feels like, oh no, I'm the one being rejected here. He or she doesn't want me, when in fact I just don't want intimacy at this moment. And that's because of the dynamics that exist.
Absolutely. And that's where, as couples, if you embrace this journey together, you realize that it's not personal. It's not that I don't desire you, I'm not attracted to you, I don't want you. It's just my body. My body's doing its own thing on both sides. And embracing it and being there and supportive is what helps a lot to bring couples closer together and reshift and redefine your relationship as you embrace this next chapter in your journey together.
True. So just your last words, advice for people listening to us who are wondering, how do I support my partner? Maybe someone who says, okay, I hear you, Paula, and now I understand more about menopause, or I understand more about andropause, and I want to be a good supporting partner. I've got the awareness now. What can you advise for them to do to be a support system and validate their partner's experience, even when they don't fully understand it from an experience point of view?
I think like the previous caller said, is be gentle, be kind, be supportive, be loving, be caring. When your partner says, I'm tired, listen to them and try and dig deeper for them in terms of what's going on. Encourage them to go and seek help. If you notice changes in libido and sexual desire from yourself and or your partner, don't attack them on it. Rather, be curious about it and how can you work through it together. Go and seek medical help. The best thing, that was the best thing that I did for myself going through this journey, and having a supportive medical professional that could help me understand the journey and the kind of treatment that I needed, and completely changed it for me. And I think I want to encourage all couples, both men and women, to do the same and to get a supportive support structure around them, both from each other as partners, but also, professional help.
Yeah. Paula Quincy, thank you so much for joining us for this important conversation. It's 3 minutes before 12.